Masters champions, both world champions. Not necessarily the best of pals. What more do you want? It's for a place in the semi-finals. The winner plays Steve Maguire or Yan Bingtao. This is in the top half of the draw. Last three matches in the tournament have all gone to deciders. This could be another close one. They both had close matches just to get here. Shaun Murphy saw off Mark Williams 6-4. And of course, Stuart Bingham was very much in charge against Tepchara and Nu. Went for a 1-4-7. Let Tepchara in. Eventually, though, got over the line with a good break in the last frame to win 6-4 as well. What are your early thoughts, Dominic?
Yes, very good evening, everybody. I'm very much looking forward to this match. I agree with the studio pundits that could be a barrage of big breaks. There won't be a great deal of safety play between these two, I don't feel. They're very attacking players, very heavy scorers. Both players have shown signs of their best form during the course of this season, but it's a little bit fleeting. That's a bit fragile, I feel. They get both of these players games at the moment, and I think a good start from either of them could really set the tone.
That was a chance. It was a slightly awkward queuing for Bingham. But a big match, of course, it's double your money time again. The guaranteed 30,000, it goes up to 60 guaranteed for the semis. Murphy took on the initial long red, didn't go in, but he gets this chance.
I've played both of these players numerous times. I've always found when he plays Shaun, when he gives you an opportunity, it's normally a really good one. I don't know why that is. I think it's because a lot of times he actually misses pots or takes a few aggressive shots on and makes mistakes that way rather than from poor safeties. But you're certainly looking here at one of the game's most beautiful cueists. Aesthetically very pleasing to watch Shaun Murphy. He's rock solid on the shot. Perhaps from a technical point of view, not as fine a cueist maybe as somebody like a Neil Robertson. It's a little sort of non-linear, his cue action, Shaun, so it's a bit up and down, but a beautiful, beautiful ball striker.
$13.
Well, he's left this one a little awkward. He's got the swan neck out already. Look at that. Swan neck making an appearance so early in the match. No.
Shaun Murphy.
So just slightly lost ideal position. May just take a bit of time for both to settle here.
I've always hated the swan neck rest because the actual V, or the channel that your cue has to drop into, is a very shallow one. But this is going to cause a problem now, this red near the right corner. Neither player is going to risk a safety into bulk, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if frame one here begins again fairly soon.
Yeah, because, as you say, the red over the pocket.
There's just no need to take the risk of playing a safety shot into bulk and snooking the red. It could cost you very dearly. Well, Shaun has taken the risk, and it is a mistake.
Well, if you're going to play that shot, obviously you have to cover this red, which he's not done.
One.
So Bingham in, defending champion, of course, Stuart Bingham. Dramatic win last year against Ali Carter at the Alexandra Palace. Well, that was the shot that Murphy played. I think Bingham played on the other red here, actually, but he's taken this one.
9.
This was a good red, but you could see it was a good few millimetres away from that top cushion as it entered the pocket.
$16. $17.
Thought Stuart would have had a little bit of left-hand side on the cue ball there just to leave himself more parallel to the black. He's left a slightly missable one here. He may just play a cannon on the loose red to the left of the pack to hold for one in the right centre. You see the black was missable.
Stuart
You won't be
Bingham,
happy there, Stuart.
17.
That was a good chance.
Well, a few errors early on. I'm sure this match will settle down. Normally what happens, if there's a lot of errors, if one player then settles down, the other one tends to follow suit.
One.
Clearly tried to go into the pack of
8.
reds there, but missed them. But he's finished beautifully on the red to left centre. Can easily get back down for the black from it.
Nine.
And that's a shot that so many players play these days. They leave themselves low on a red
16.
at the bottom of the pack, so in playing for a colour they can open a few more into open play. Shaun could still play the red to the left centre if he wishes. Play it for blue or bulk colour, but he'd have to go into the pack of reds, I feel, then. Oh, he's missed the red.
Shaun
Wow, we've
Murphy,
seen a few easy
16.
pots missed in this first frame already.
Bit early for Shredsville, isn't it? Frame 1.
I think both of these players, Dave, have a very healthy respect for one another's games, and they may be just a bit wary of each other at the moment, maybe.
Yeah, as I say, I'm sure this will settle down. Well, looks like another chance for Murphy. Not to be, though. He potted that terrific black, didn't he, against Mark Williams. Probably the shot of the championship so far. And his long potting in his first round match was nearly 80%. But he's missed that one.
One.
Well, this was an excellent pot from Stuart Bingham. Stay very still on it. Oh, he's lost the cue ball already here. He's on nothing, really. The only possible ball that I think he's got is the one to the right centre, and he'd be
8.
hampered by the two reds. Now, can he get through to the bottom red of the two together by the pink spot? Oh, not quite, I don't think. Extraordinary start to this opening frame. Both players having great chances, but have either lost position or missed easy pots. Nope.
Stuart Bingham, 8.
It's quite heartening in a way, I think, for everyone out there who plays club snooker and, you know, not playing to the high standard we see in pro tournaments, to see top players actually struggling as well. Just reminds everyone it's a difficult game. It may be they're sort of both trying a little too hard almost at the start here.
One.
Couldn't do much with that, Shaun. The angle's a little too acute to be able to play it at pace. But he's played that one wonderfully well.
Yes, they haven't played in just over
6.
4 years, which is strange, really, for two top players. So this is their first real meeting since the sort of parting of the ways between them. The World Final was
7.
terrific, though, back in 2015. Of course, Bingham eventually came through, but one of the great finals, I think, in terms of quality.
No matter
14.
what colours Shaun were to take from the, well, I wouldn't say the 3 easy reds, the 2 of them are fairly easy. There's one near that right-hand side cushion. But he is going to need at least 2 of the tricky reds.
15. $22. $23.
I think he's gone a little low here on the black. He may just be able to cannon into the top red of the 2 near the pink. Oh, he was okay. In fact, it's worked out rather nicely.
30.
It's taken a bit of time to settle down this opening frame, but Shaun Murphy with the chance now, leading by 34, needing a couple of reds. But as you can see, that's not going in.
Wow.
SHAUN Murphy, 30.
Ah, an interesting first frame this, and Stuart Bingham comes to the table 34 behind, but has a chance here.
One.
You sort of knew that would happen, didn't you? He wouldn't be on the blues, but it would just been that sort of frame. He could still take the brown.
Five.
Don't know if Stuart's straight enough on this red to be able to hold well enough for the blue to just run in behind the remaining red. Looking at that angle, you won't be able to do that. The green, of course, a big problem for Stuart.
6.
But a chance here, I don't think. Well, he may try to develop the remaining red, but he could easily drop in behind it from the angle he has here on the blue. It's not worked out. Round of applause, but rather erroneous in my opinion there.
Well, absolutely. It's not what he wanted at all. Trigger happy on the applause button, maybe.
Stuart Bingham, 11.
Well, on another day, that might flick the green and prevent the red going over the pocket, but it didn't happen. But what a strange old start this has been. Murphy leads by 23. There you see it. So anything after the red, brown and above, Bing would need a snooker. Got to pop the red first, though.
One.
Well,
SHAUN Murphy,
he just tried to roll it in for the points to get to the snooker's required stage, but didn't go in.
I was a little surprised to see him miss this. Such a beautiful ball striker, but I think Shaun surprised himself there, not knocking that in. There wasn't a massive amount of pressure on it because the green's safe.
Two.
Wow, what a very interesting conclusion to frame one we're in for here.
Stuart Bingham, 2.
Shaun's hoping you can see the green full ball. He may be able to stun the cue ball in behind the brown on the baulk cushion and send the green somewhere near the black spot. If you can't see it full ball, he won't be able to play that shot. I wonder if Stuart will try and snick this green in. He could take the cue ball around the back of the pink, and he may well be able to get onto the brown nicely. It may be worth an effort, this.
Three.
Oh, well, a good green, but isn't this so much like the brown that Mark Allen missed in the deciding frame with John Higgins?
Seven. Stuart Bingham, 7.
Surprising miss from Stuart, but he played this with running side. You can see it applied to the cue ball there to alter the angle of its natural path and develop the pink. And I think this blue will snick in.
Five.
And it's all Murphy needed. He's just checking the scores because it's been a strange old frame, but there you see it. Looks like his frame. A lot of chances required, though.
Sean Murphy, 5.
Well, it's not worth it, surely. He needs
conceded
2
frame,
snookers, so
Sean
he
Murphy.
sits back down. I think things will get better. A nervy start. Big match this. Playing for a place in the semi-finals. Sean Murphy leads Stuart Bingham 1-0. The bitty opening frame. Quite a few mistakes, but Murphy on the scoreboard first. He leads the overall head-to-head between them. 6-4, but the one they obviously remember, the one that stands out is that World Final 6 years ago that Bingham won 18-15. No first-time Masters champion has defended the title since the late Paul Hunter back in 2002. Ronnie O'Sullivan has since defended it. But of course he won his first Masters title back in 1995.
Well, I do hope Stuart didn't attempt the red there. I'm not entirely convinced that that was a safety shot that was played, and judging by that smile, Dave, I think I'm right.
He's sort of letting us know, isn't he, in a sort of rather subtle way. Yeah, I mean, well, things can only get better if that's the case. He did make a century, 114 in his first match. Sean Murphy, best break 93 against Mark Williams.
Controlled the cue ball very well there, Sean, but unfortunately red has come out. Oh, he's lost one of his baubles there, look.
Oh no, the Triple Crown is disintegrating.
Yeah.
Send for Donna. We saw Donna from World Snooker Tour the other day with sewing Ronnie O'Sullivan's logo on.
1.
Yes, a lady of many talents, Donna. There's a lot of the sewing on of the players' logos.
Well, there's already needle in this match before she comes out. Meantime, a great pot from Bingham. That'll make him feel better after what happened the first opportunity.
Yeah, it was a wonderful pot, wasn't it? Controlled the cue ball, very positively played. I think Stuart would love to go into the pack of reds here, but he'd be a bit concerned that he could tie the black spot up or not finish on a ball. He's only really got 2 open reds that he can play on.
Well, that's got into them very nicely indeed.
6.
I think Stuart would probably feel he couldn't play much worse than he did in that first frame. So now a chance for him to settle into this match. Just checking that black goes to the right corner.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't at the moment, and there is a red that seems to be occupying the black spot. So a little bit of housekeeping required here, Stuart. He'll try and... I think the red that's on the black spot will actually pop past those other 2 into the left corner. So if that's the case, he can play for it sooner rather than later. But the red he's got to remove first, of course, is this one that's blocking the right corner for the black.
12.
Found that he had a good angle on that red to play for the pink and decided to get the pink back in play while he had the opportunity. That's good. A good thought process from Stuart.
Well, Sean Murphy was very complimentary about Bingham's heavy scoring. He said he put him in the top 5 heavy scorers at the moment. Of course, he made a 147 just last week in the Championship League. He's 8th. It's only O'Sullivan, Higgins and Hendry ahead of him now on that list.
90.
Problem is, in this scenario where the balls are, one slip up and they're all there for Murphy.
20.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's having to do a fair bit of work here just to get rid of the reds that are in his way and making things awkward.
$26. 27. 33.
I don't think there's anything wrong here in playing the red over that right corner, but I mean, you could play for the pink in the left centre or the left corner. But if he does play this red to the right corner, I mean, obviously it's a certainty that he'd be finishing on the pink. But I think if you want to play the right shot, it needs to be the red over the right corner, because that frees the black up then and makes things a lot easier later on.
$34. 40.
Just saw a glimpse there of our famous little sidebar graphic. 68 denoted the points total that Stuart needs to get to enable him to be safe in the frame, barring snookers from his opponent. And you could also see at the top of that little sidebar 139, that was the possibility of a total clearance of 139 should blacks be taken with all the remaining reds, which of course is unlikely. Played for the red that's on the black spot, just overran by 3 or 4 inches.
46.
And it could cause a problem for Stuart because he has hampered queuing now. And as you said earlier, Dave, you wouldn't want to miss in a position like this with the reds in the positions that they're in.
No, as you say, it's been a more complicated break than it might sort of have looked when he got into the reds, just because of where they landed.
$47.
And in a way, that might not be a bad thing, because he's had to concentrate. Can't afford to just take anything for granted here.
Well, has that gone wrong?
$53.
Well, he thinks he can pot this one. Let's hope he's right. Remember the ready missed against Tepchire to the middle. No problem.
54.
Getting the cue ball clean by referee Tatiana Wollaston. The black puts him 61 in front. With another 75 on.
$61.
There you see, break of 61, 75 still remains, so possible 136 available here now for Stuart Bingham, which would equal the highest break of the event so far, made earlier by Kyron Wilson.
$62.
Yeah, it's worth 15,000, the high break. So quite lucrative.
Kyron, of course, having been defeated earlier today by David Gilbert, I don't think he'll feel that 136 will be enough to take that highest break prize.
68.
Bingham pots the pink for frame ball. Of course, it was the pink that Wilson missed when he had a chance to get back into that decider. Not his favourite ball, because just before
69.
Christmas, he played a horror show of a shot against Ronnie O'Sullivan on the pink in the World Grand Prix when he was nicely in front, ended up losing there. Anyway, Bingham has minded his work very nicely here.
Yes, and potted a tremendous
75.
opening red to begin this break with.
We're bearing out really what Murphy said about him as a break builder.
76.
Stuart Bingham, who became the oldest Masters champion last year at the age of 43. Seems a long time ago, doesn't it? All of that. A lot has happened, needless to say, since then. Great atmosphere it was. His parents were there on the new plush sofas
82.
at Alexandra Palace, full house. Great memories for him. This is all very different, but it's still a big tournament. And we've seen
83.
already this week, we've seen it today, that pressure is still there on these players.
I think it'll seem most odd when
90.
audiences are allowed to watch live snooker at venues once
91.
again. And I think that's because it's been a long time, and it could still be a long time before that happens.
Yeah, let's hope not too long. I've had a lot of messages from people who would love to come and watch live snooker again and see breaks like this, just a couple of balls from
98.
a century, the 16th of this Masters. Exactly what he needed after that
99.
first frame. And this might just like the blue touch paper for this match now. Well, he's minded his work really well throughout the course of the break. He can't beat the high break now. But even so, this is what he was looking for after that very nervy start.
108.
Yes, that's what made the initial red all the more special, really. He was making a lot of
111.
mistakes in that first frame, and to knock a red like he did into that left corner at the beginning of this frame, rather commendable, really.
115. $120.
Well, it is a little landmark. If he pots these two, it will be his highest break at the Masters. Previous highest 132.
126.
This black for a 133. Very nicely done as well
133
by
and
Stuart
the frame,
Bingham. 133
Stuart
from the reigning champ. After that nervy first frame, things nicely warming up now. We're level at one frame apiece. I put a little poll up on Twitter at the start of the day. Which quarter-final are people most looking forward to? It's no great surprise, I guess, that 75% went for O'Sullivan Higgins, but As I say, this match always had the potential to be a cracker. That's not a cracking break, though, is it? Caught the blue full ball. After that wonderful century as well.
Yes, whenever you play a break-off shot, you use a little bit of side spin just to accentuate the angles with the cue ball off the cushions, and I think the side spin just moved the cue ball too much there and he caught the end red too thinly. And this is a good chance for Shaun Murphy, who had to sit the last frame out pretty much. If he could have wobbled that cue ball in the jaws a little more thoroughly, he may have had a good angle on the blue to go into the pack of reds with, but I don't think he can from there. Well, he was able to get the cue ball down the table without any difficulty at all, and he's played beautifully for this loose red. I thought he was a lot straighter than that on the blue.
7.
But he'll do really well to get onto red from here. One, he's a little straight on the black, and then not a good pack to go into here. Did his best.
Yeah, I think the best he could hope for here was just chip
14.
1 or 2 out and hopefully land on one. Didn't quite happen.
I still wouldn't be surprised to see Shaun take this red on into the yellow pocket.
Shaun Murphy, 14.
And he's been rather fortunate.
Just a little raise of the hand to acknowledge that.
Not quite as straightforward as Stuart would like this. That pack of reds isn't particularly tight. As you can see, there are a couple of loose reds that could be left on here if he's not careful. He'd love to get into the back of the pack. As you can see, that's a lot more a safer zone for Stuart, but how does he get the cue ball there? He's rather tight to the green. So he's just playing the red near bulk. Caught the wrong side of it. Now what damage has he done? I think he's all right.
We've now had 16 century breaks in the Masters, including the one Bingham's just had. The record 31, that was back in 2009. Of course, we've got another 3 days left after this one.
Stuart didn't get into the cue ball enough there. And if he hasn't left a red on, he's been a little fortunate. red nearest the pink spot looks as though it could be available to Shaun, but I think he's had a look at it rather than decided it doesn't quite go.
Both of these players have qualified for the German Masters, which is coming up at the end of the month. Of course, that will be held here. Sadly, not going to the Tempodrome, which is such a wonderful venue in Berlin. And also they're in the new Pro Series event, which starts shortly after this. So there's a lot of snooker still to come in January. We'll have the German Masters for you live at the end of this month, January 27th. It starts.
Sure, Shaun will be looking to leave a cue ball tight on this top cushion behind the black spot. And that's the big thing when you play a shot like this. If you can get that cue ball absolutely tight to the cushion, it really restricts what your opponent can do. And Shaun won't be entirely happy with that. Mistake from Shaun Murphy this time. The red over the green pocket Stuart can't get through to, but there is one available into the left centre. If Stuart can knock this in, he'd be disappointed not to make a heavy break from here.
1.
Yes, it's one of those frames where the reds start to spread out and it's about who gets in first, who gets the first good chance. It's Stuart Bingham because there was an error from Murphy. We know Bingham is queuing nicely after that century in the last frame. It was a total clearance, in fact, of 133.
Sorry, 6. Seven.
Tatiana Wollaston just called out the wrong score, but immediately corrected herself. We always mention, I'll mention it again, she's the wife of Ben Wollaston, the player, but equally, he's the husband of Tatiana Wollaston. She very much is at her place as one of the best refs in
14.
the game. That's why she's at the Masters.
Just didn't get enough backspin on that one, Shaun Murphy, colliding with the black, but to be honest, even if he'd avoided the black, cue ball was carrying a lot of pace.
19.
But Stuart's just dropping out of position a little here. Did do previously when attempting to play for the blue in the left centre, ended up having to play the brown. There's a little betwixt and between here. If he takes a blue on, he'll probably play a cannon into the pink and reds. But if you were to play the brown, you wouldn't have to play any cannons. Well, I think I prefer the brown because, as I say, you can play for the red that's near the green. You don't have to play any cannons. Things can so easily go wrong if you play a cannon. You just never know how you're going to catch your intended ball.
$24. Stuart, Bingham, 24.
Well, that's come out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Amazing. I wonder if it was in his mind that he'd missed a similar ball in the first frame.
So Murphy gets to pick up from where Bingham has left off. Shaun
One.
Murphy's highest break, only 30 so far. That was, of course, in the first frame, didn't really get a look in frame 2. His great year in the Masters was 2015. He won the final against Neil Robertson 10-2. Huge surprise, not that he won, but I think everyone thought it would be a close final, and 10-2 against Neil Robertson. That was a terrific day for him
7.
at Alexandra Palace. Had also reached the final back in 2012 when Robertson, in fact, beat him 10-6. Last year got to the semis where Ali Carter was the winner 6-3.
$12. $13.
Nice angle on the blue here to play for the red in bulk, the one that's nearest the green. But it's not a straightforward run to victory here as we have a look at Stuart's misread to the centre.
18.
Just sort of lipped out, didn't it? Just wasn't quite accurate enough. But, you know, that type of pot, you should be hitting the centre of the pocket with those. It's not difficult. Stuart knows that. And he really has let Shaun Murphy off the hook here in frame number 3.
$19.
Probably play for the red nearest the pink spot now, Shaun. And then he'll look to try and remove those 3 reds near the left-hand side cushion that aren't particularly easy to get onto.
$22. $23. $29. $30. $36.
2 reds, 2 colours still required.
$37.
And when you watch Shaun amongst the balls, he's one of the more fluent players. He's a little quicker about his business than Stuart Bingham, once in amongst them.
Checking the scores, he's 33 in front, so he's in need of red and a colour.
$44.
That, of course, was the pocket that did for Bingham. If he can pot this black, he's 41 ahead, so 2 snookers required.
$51.
And this will hurt Stuart Bingham. He'll feel these balls that have been potted by Shaun Murphy should have been his.
Yeah, and the difference with frame 1 is it took just 1 miss. Frame 1, they're all missing everything, but in this frame, Murphy's shown him, if you miss, I'm going to step in and do the damage.
Shaun Murphy, 51.
Well, it's Bingham who needs 2 snookers. He's in 1 himself. Solid 51 from Murphy. So close. I guess Bingham ideally would have preferred to keep the red on the table, but no choice really but to pot it.
Stuart could have decided to pot the yellow
8.
and leave the cue ball just behind the green in bulk and then just stun the green down towards the black and snooker in behind the brown, but wasn't straight enough on the yellow to be able to leave that shot on.
8.
Oh, he's just overhit the yellow. I think there's a little edge of it sticking out for Shaun.
Yeah, I mean, if Bingham were to pot yellow to blue inclusive, he needs 1 to tie on the pink. Be 19 behind.
Oh, Shaun, how are your eyes? There is a tiny little bit of that yellow sticking out, but it's a bit of a tester. Hitting those very faint edges isn't easy to do.
Murphy's still a good bet, I think, for the frame, but things can happen. We've seen miscues, we've seen all sorts of in-offs. Bits of bad luck can afflict you at the wrong time.
if you can keep the cue ball very close to a cushion rail, it does prohibit your opponent from applying a lot of spin to the ball. You can generally only play them with top spin, so it makes getting snookers much more difficult. But a real chance here for Stuart to get the cue ball in behind the black. He'll have to avoid the double kiss though on the yellow. Well, if the yellow cannons are green, it has. There's a chance here to finally wrap this frame up for Shaun.
Two.
Well, Bingham's miss to the right middle was the key moment. He had a good chance. He was, of
5.
course, playing well after the 1-3-3 in the previous frame. Good chance to go 2-1 in front. Murphy stepped in with that 51 to get to the snooker's required stage.
9. $14.
So I think Sean Murphy supporters would probably agree he's not yet played his very best, but he's back in front.
20 under frame.
It was a good
Sean
51 from Murphy. Stuart Bingham annoyed to have missed that red to the right middle when he did. Sean Murphy leads then by 2 frames to 1. Trophy there in the background, the Paul Hunter Trophy, which will be presented to someone on Sunday, along with a cheque for £250,000. Of course, because of the restrictions, we won't see Paul's parents this year. Alan and Christine usually come to the event, but we are, of course, thinking of the Hunter family at this time, as we always do at this time of the year. Paul, of course, won the title 3 times in 3 unbelievable finals, all in deciders, all with comebacks.
Yes, I played Paul Hunter myself 3 times. Great honour to have done so. He had a reputation, Paul, of always mounting comebacks in matches, and he was never beaten. And I remember we were at an airport once, I think it was in Malta, and I asked him, I said, how come you keep winning matches from behind? And he said, well, simple, Dominic, when I walk out to play, I don't walk out to lose. And I thought that just summed things up. You're never beaten until you actually are beaten. As we look at that excellent long red from Shaun.
Eight. Nine.
Shaun's left himself with a beautiful angle here on the black to go into the pack of reds with, but once again, they're not the best pack in the world to go into from the black, I have to say. Glanced off them, but it hasn't finished well. He may well take this red on to the left corner, because
16.
I think he can maybe get position on the black from it if he tries.
$17.
Well, played the cannon to the black, which was the natural angle, but unfortunately the black hasn't really rebounded off the top cushion enough for Shaun here. It's on, it's a very thin cut, and as you can see, there are no more loose reds to play for, so he'd have to go into them, and that makes the whole thing rather risky. But he is a very attacking player, Shaun.
Sean Murphy, 17.
Remember, they're in the top half of the draw. The winner plays Steve Maguire, Yan Bingtao. Dave Gilbert through to play either Ronnie O'Sullivan or John Higgins. They play tomorrow night. Maguire, Yan Bingtao in the afternoon.
Shaun may well be able to snooker Stuart Bingham in behind the green here, but unless he can just knock a couple of reds into possible positions, it may not be particularly profitable.
Playing time an hour. It's been good stuff, I think. Even the mistakes make it interesting, don't they? The unexpected. Bingham was going well in the last frame. I don't think we really saw that miss coming.
Chance for Stuart maybe just to open a few up here in the course of playing his safer shot, but there are a few little groups of reds there that look as though they're pointing towards this left corner a little. So he'd have to be careful not to leave something on. So shot choice all important here.
Is it going to keep running? Oh, just... I thought it was going to creep in behind the green, but it didn't.
I think I fancy Stuart to knock the long red in. I'd like to see him play a nice controlled, sort of floaty stun shot, if you will, to leave himself a choice of pink or black. Well, that's what he played, but I was a little surprised to see him miss the pot by so far.
One.
Shaun Murphy's involved in this new weight loss challenge with Phil Seymour, the Master of Ceremonies. Question of who can lose the most before the World Championship. It's hard, I think, at snooker tournaments. The eating is not always that good, and particularly when you're away from home, comfort eating can sometimes come into play, but they're challenging each other for charity.
7.
So best of luck to both of them.
Eight.
the red that I thought Shaun was on, he isn't on. The red that's nearest the pocket, as you can see, is very straight, and he has hampered cueing here, so not guaranteed to finish nicely on a colour, and he hasn't really. But Shaun is one of these players that has a tip size of about 8 3/4 millimetres. It's very small, his tip size, so he can really get some bite into the cue ball and get a lot of backspin on it, and that's exactly what he needs here. He's able to hold that ball effortlessly there. Other players might have struggled to hold that cue ball as well as he did.
21. I'm
very surprised he chose to go into the pack of reds there from a red. Something that people tell you not to do. But he could have easily left himself a good angle on a colour there to go into them.
Well, it was a good black, wasn't it? Because he's always leaving this red if he misses
29.
it.
Yeah, sorry Dave, I was going to say that was a good example of what I was saying earlier. When he's faced with a pressure pot, he plays it as though there's no pressure on it at all.
Yeah, it's a good way to be. It's a very hard way to be, I would say. Steve Davis' old maxim, wasn't it? Play like it means nothing when it means everything. Problem is, most of the time it does mean everything. And players often play that way. Anyway, he's knocked the black in. He's got a useful lead here already in this frame.
$30.
Shaun was playing a power
33.
stun screw back there, needed the stun on the cue ball to create the correct angle for it to go into that little group of reds and pink. But there was too much backspin. That's why he collided with the blue. So end of break for a useful lead. In a very important frame here, Dave.
Sean Murphy, 33.
Yeah, I think, as I say, objectively, Murphy hasn't been at his sparkling best, but he could still be 3-1 up. He's leading 2-1, he's leading 50-0. Just the odd error, but he seems quite relaxed about everything. Bingham, meanwhile, has made perhaps the most telling mistake so far this evening, which was in that last frame when he was in and missed that red to the right middle, having made a total clearance in the previous frame, was looking to take control of the match early on.
Shaun Murphy works closely with a coach, originally from Accrington in Lancashire, but now lives in Belgium, in Bruges, Chris Henry. He's well known on the snooker tour, Chris. He also works with a lot of top golfers as well. Very good on the psychological aspect of the game, but he is a snooker player, former professional himself, and he's made a few changes to Shaun's game. One of them being the distance from the bridge hand to the cue ball. He's shortened that up to maybe 8 or 9 inches from about 12, which it used to be. And something Shaun always used to do, he always used to bound around the table with this sort of, I don't know, sort of supercilious sort of way about him. But it's something that Chris has tried to stop him doing as well, and just walk around at an even pace. He's made a few interesting changes to Shaun's game, but Shaun's a very hard practicer, and he will have worked on everything that both he and Chris have tried to alter in his style of play.
Well, I think what links them both, they're both pure snooker lovers as well as great players. They'll be watching snooker if they're not playing it. They'll be playing in as much as they can when the opportunities come along, which is why it's surprising they haven't played for over 4 years against each other, because they're both in pretty much every tournament.
He does have that sort of statesman-like look about him, doesn't he, Shaun? He's sort of almost Churchillian in some ways.
Well, Ronnie and Jimmy did nickname him the Prime Minister, didn't they? So there's something in that, maybe.
Did they? I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, worth waiting for.
1.
Wow, what a pot. Nearly 2 minutes he spent looking at it. Has Bingham got the answers for the Prime Minister's questions?
Eight.
This is still a test of cueing. This red to the middle. He's not taking it on. Protecting the lead.
Shaun Murphy 8.
58 the lead. 75 on.
I was rather surprised to see Shaun turn that one down. But I was thunderstruck yesterday when John Higgins refused to play for that red along the top cushion, which was frame and match ball, but that was another match. He got through it anyway. Much too thick, but this cue ball's running well. It needs to keep going, and it just about has. Amazing. Thought he'd left that red on. Wow, can Stewart just cue past the yellow to attempt a red to left corner here? He'll probably feel he'll need to take something on fairly soon, because if he doesn't, these reds could end up near cushions and all over the place, and then getting back into this fourth frame could be rather difficult.
One. Eight. Nine.
Choices here for Stewart. He could play for the red nearest the left corner that's near the side cushion. Could play for the more open of the four remaining reds.
16.
What sort of an angle does he have on this red? Can he play for the black from this? Wow, once
17.
again, he almost missed that to the top jaw. Again, choices for Stuart. He can play for close positioning behind the red near this left corner that's on the cushion, but he could, if he wishes, try to develop the difficult red near the left centre.
Twenty-four. $25.
I thought the red was a very difficult pot with the rest, but he still had the confidence to play with running side to develop that blue and the red. And he played it rather well, to be honest. But he doesn't have a good angle on the black. The blue is still blocking the pocket for the red. I think he tried to leave the double on the red, but has that cue ball
32.
travelled far enough for it to still be on and avoid the double kiss?
Stuart Bingham, 32.
Well, a hard-fought 32, 26 in the frame. These are big moments in this match, aren't they? Bingham desperate to get level at the interval. Murphy looking to hold him off.
Yes, a good thing here from Stuart Bingham's point of view is that Shaun Murphy will require both the remaining reds. As you can see, one doesn't pass the blue, so both these players still have work to do in this fourth frame. Just wonder if Shaun will be tempted by either of these two reds. Both pots pretty much equally difficult. But he's got the insurance of that pink being on the side cushion. Stuart Bingham would need it. he doesn't have to take a pot on here, Shaun. There are safety shots available to him.
Well, Murphy himself stood there. That's why we couldn't see where the white was. We were wondering, was that running tight in behind the black? It didn't, ultimately. But it came close.
Yeah, it didn't control the red very well, Shaun. I think he was hoping it would collide with one of the bulk colours there, but it didn't. And in all honesty, Stuart's going to have to take this red on, but it's much more difficult than it may look, because it's close to that side cushion there. Oh, well done. That was an excellent pot.
1.
So now the pink is going to play a part. That's the safe ball on the table. Great red, though.
Stuart has every chance to just steal this frame from under Shaun Murphy's nose. That pink is in a good little spot there for doubling. I love what goes through players' minds. I just wonder if Stuart could consider stunning this red in and trying to develop the pink. Some players would. I think Ryan Day's a player who I regard as a very, very attacking break builder, and he's always trying to work out ways to develop reds and colours. I wonder if Stuart will do something similar here. Well, the fact he didn't play the cannon probably suggests to me that he's decided, should he get that far, to leave a double on the pink.
Eight. Ten.
Brown to blue, an important shot, but not critical. Shouldn't be difficult to leave a reasonable angle on the blue.
Thirteen.
Don't think Stuart will try to bring the pink into play here.
$17.
He probably hasn't got as much angle on this blue as he'd like to have, but I think he can just about leave a double on the pink. He's just having a look there with his Q-tip to see where he wants to try to place a cue ball.
$22.
Oh, that's perfect.
He needs pink and black, 28.5-minute frame. Brilliant.
28.
Well, our pundits may have nicknamed Shaun Murphy the Prime Minister, but tonight it's Stuart Bingham who's leading the opposition. And he's made a
35
terrific
for the
clearance
point,
there
Stuart Bingham.
to level up at the interval. He enjoyed that, didn't he? Great double on the pink. And so the masks go on and the players go off to the dressing rooms, all square. Terrific contest here this evening in Milton Keynes. Shaun Murphy and Stuart Bingham level at 2-2. Psychology snooker comes in because he has had that time in the interval to consider the position in the match, and you're right, he hasn't necessarily played his best yet, Murphy, but he's still all square.
Well, he's eyeing up the potential for a three-ball plant here into the left corner. The problem is, will the end red carry enough pace to move away from the pockets if it doesn't go in? Oh, but it has gone in. What a pot that was from Shaun Murphy. That was purely intentional. Choice of loose reds to play for.
Brown ball.
But he could go into the pack of reds with force from the brown if he wished.
Five. Six. Six.
A couple of years ago, Shaun Murphy moved to the Republic of Ireland, where his wife hails from. But of course, the current time has led to many restrictions over the course of the pandemic in terms of going back and forth, having to quarantine when he's back in Ireland. I think
30.
they have changed more recently, but there was a time where he was essentially stuck here in Milton Keynes, because if he went home, he couldn't leave the house, couldn't practice. So it was a difficult balance between that or
14.
staying here and obviously not seeing his family. Very difficult. I know it's been difficult for a lot of people, but everyone has their own story.
$19.
Shaun controlled this pack opener wonderfully well. And I have to say, it's rather unfortunate not to have a simple next red. More so, he's tied up the black to both corners. Very unlucky. Oh, well done.
20.
Another misjudged screw back
22.
from a bulk colour. Was guilty of a similar error in a previous frame. Now, can he get through to the potting angle of the red near that left corner? Very difficult to tell from here. Ooh, I don't think he can. I think if he attempts this, he may well cannon the other red first. Did. Hit the other red before his intended
23.
red that was near the left corner, the one he knocked in.
At one stage, yeah, it looked like he might finish plumb on the blue. It didn't quite work out that way.
these yellows, you do practice them quite a bit. They come up and you always fancy them. But the problem is, the shot that Shaun would like to play for position, probably for the red near bulk, the pink could be a problem for him. It could be in his way. Yeah, had to play it with topspin, and that's just
Shaun
not the
Murphy,
way you really want to
23.
play that shot.
Yes, it was slightly awkward as well. Concerned about that red.
One.
They actually played these two in the final of the Old Masters qualifying event. There used to be wildcards. There was a qualifying tournament, and then there was another wildcard place because, of course, we're going back to the year 2000. Back then, the ranking system was different. It wasn't changed after every tournament, so the top 16 sometimes, someone would win a tournament and not be at the Masters. Murphy won that final, got to the Masters in 2001. He was only 18 years of age, playing at the Conference Centre. Beat Marco Fu, lost to Stephen Hendry.
Yes, those
Fine.
Masters qualifying events, I remember them very well. They used to be played in various venues, really. Malvern in Worcestershire, also at Jock's Lodge in Edinburgh.
Six.
Yeah, a lot of players who went on to have a lot of success won them, didn't they? Ronnie O'Sullivan, Matthew Stevens won it. I think Mark won it, Mark Williams.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. I remember, yeah, best I did, I lost to Neil Robson in a final. 6-5.
And Stuart Bingham, the only player to have won that qualifier twice.
11.
Got him to the Masters a couple of times before he really broke through as a top player,
12.
which is what he is now, of course. He's the defending champ.
Yes, those Masters qualifiers, everybody would have entered it because, of course, it's such a prestigious event. The Masters, terrific atmosphere. Everybody entered that Masters qualifying competition. It's very difficult to win, and to win it twice is a terrific achievement. Just didn't catch enough of that red, Stuart. So he'll have to go up the table for the blue because the black won't pass the red to left corner.
19. $20.
He's just looking to be the more solid of the two players, Stuart. Watching his play the last couple of frames, he's beginning to settle down, and he's beginning to play some very hard match snooker, some very consistent hard match snooker, and maybe if he carries on in this vein, he could well get the better of Shaun in the end.
25.
Have played each other 11 times in total. Shaun leads a head-to-head 6-4, but there was a 3-all draw some 9 years ago in the Premier League.
$26.
Keyboard just
33.
seemed to rebound a little quickly from the top cushion. Stuart felt that, I'm sure. It just means his next positional shot to the black is a fraction more complicated than it should have been.
34.
So the missed yellow from Murphy starting to look like a significant moment in this fifth frame. Murphy's led twice by the odd frame and had a good chance to lead 3-1.
$41. 42.
Stuart had a brief glance at the scoreboard a moment or two ago. He knows that the red that's under his sleeve there, a tricky red near that left-hand side cushion, he won't need it.
$49. 50. 57. 58.
So that yellow was significant, and Bingham once again has stepped in.
Now just enough points on the table for second century.
65.
Yeah, it would be his third of the tournament if he'd made it. Of course, he needs the black off this. But remember, last year when he won the tournament, he made his first century in the last frame of the whole event.
66.
'So it's going to be in front for the first time is Stuart Bingham.
71. 73. 76. 80.
10 years now since he broke through as a big tournament winner. Aussie Open 2011. Beat Mark Williams in a decider in Bendigo.
85.
And has had so much success since. And would love some more. He's doing the heavier hitting in this match in terms of breaks.
91.
And that 91 puts him ahead for the first time. Well, what's he going to do with the black? Little double.
Stuart Bingham, 91.
So he punished the error. That's the key thing. He punished the miss yellow from Shaun Murphy. Stuart Bingham leads the quarter-final by 3 frames to 2.
And Jimmy White providing frame-by-frame analysis right here in the Eurosport app, and it's advantage champion, Neil.
Yeah, I think that winning that fourth frame, you know, really made a difference the way he stole it, and probably an uncomfortable 15 minutes or so for Shaun Murphy. Bingham come out with a really good...
A very important frame now, I feel, for Shaun Murphy. He's missed a couple of pots. He's been in and ahead in the last 2 frames, but ended up losing them both. And if he does fall 4-2 behind, the pressure will be firmly on him, and he's such an attacking player, Shaun. It's much more difficult to pot good balls and continue breaks. When you're facing a 1 or 2 frame deficit, there's more pressure on you, and it's the most exacting part of the game, the potting side of it.
1.
Oh, what a great pot. Brilliant. Well, Bingham clearly has the momentum right now. He stayed right down, didn't he? He's one of these where you're not quite sure,
4.
but it drops. And he's in. There's the long pot stats looking good for Bingham. 73%, 8 out of 11.
5.
Yes, you can tell that Stuart Bingham was beginning to fancy this match, because if you look where he left the cue ball after potting that terrific long red to the yellow pocket, he'd given Shaun a good opportunity had it not gone in. But has he made a slight mistake there positionally?
10.
Is he on his intended next red to right corner? I think, well, it may not go directly, but it's easy just to trundle it in with a trace of side just to correct the potting angle. See the side applied to the cue ball then.
11.
So when the cue ball and the red are in contact with each other, that side spin on the cue ball will spin the red towards the potting angle of the red and go in. That's basically what he did there.
Playing at a fair old lick as well, 22 seconds a shot.
18.
Ooh.
Stuart
Well, of course, he
Bingham.
missed a red to
18.
the opposite middle earlier in the match in frame 3. That cost him. That was again unexpected. Looking for an angle on the blue, of course, to go into the pack.
He is a player, Stuart Bingham, that is prone to missing easy pots. Rather inexplicably, he can be actually in fine form and making break after break, but can still miss simple pots that surprise himself. But what has Shaun Murphy done there? Completely misjudged the angle of the cue ball from the baulk cushion there.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, Bingham was fortunate, I guess, not to leave it, but Murphy, well, he's looking very puzzled at this.
Just slid around the back of the red, didn't it? And I think this shot here, Stuart Bingham should be looking to play for a bulk colour to go into the pack of reds with.
1.
Is he on the brown? If he's not on the brown, he won't be able to go into the reds at all, I don't think.
Brown ball.
Well, he's nominated brown.
This game can make you look rather foolish sometimes.
6.
Stuart Bingham beginning to look rather comfortable out there now. Shaun Murphy's form faltering slightly. Play for blue or pink here, Stuart.
13.
But needs to just
14.
drift that cue ball into the pack of reds a little bit here, because they're all sort of in a circular shape and blocking one another, so he needs to try and get in amongst them somewhere here.
Well, this will do nicely, I think. So, great chance to lead 4-2.
20.
This is where he's really got to focus, because we've already seen one in this frame, but a couple in the match. Just a couple of unexpected misses. But he knows he's on top right now. He knows this is a chance to open a good lead, put pressure on Murphy in the next frame if it's 4-2. He's already got a healthy advantage, as you see, heading towards
27.
the winning line in 23 or thereabouts points time.
$28.
Just potted the pink on the thin side there, Stuart, which allowed that cue ball just to drift on a few more inches. You see it here, it just goes in off the bottom jaw, so more angle created for the cue ball to run on.
$34.
Stuart will have to be a little careful here, positionally.
$35.
You won't like this. This black's a thin cut. Now, does the pink go to the left centre? I'll be surprised if it does.
Well, this was the...
Sorry, Dave, I'll keep interrupting you. He did just nudge the pink there, didn't he, on the way through to the black, and there you go. It does. You can see it. It will pop.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that was what stopped that maximum attempt against Tepchire and New, wasn't it, into that pocket? But clearly the pink does go this time. What happened in that match was he caught the wrong red and went in off, handed the chance to Tepchire.
Stuart Bingham. 35.
Wow. There you go. Lost position on the black, tried to cut it in. There wasn't a lot of pressure on it because he'll have expected to have blocked the pocket, which I think he's done. But that was a chance to win the frame.
It sort of felt a little bit like it was building up to that miss. He just sort of entered choppy waters in the break. Leads by 53. There's still 75 available.
Shaun's considering trying to pop this red off the black. You can see there's very little room for that to happen, but he'll probably play for the pink here, Shaun. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that didn't look on for me. He tried to contact the cushion before the black, but he played the red directly into the black, so that could not possibly have worked out.
Well, Bingham back at the table, 53 in front. Couple of reds needed here.
$1.
Didn't really get into that one too well.
A bad mistake to make, really. If he overruns that cue ball, he's going to have a bulk colour, but short by a good foot or 18 inches. He's left himself in a bit of trouble here because of that red near the left corner. He may well still take the blue on, but awkward cueing, very missable.
Yeah, very impressive. He recovered well there. And now he needs this red near the corner pocket. and Murphy will
6.
require a snooker.
Seven.
Well, if you watch our coverage on the Eurosport app, there's no adverts, so between frames we get the views of Jimmy and Neil. I'd be interested to hear what they've got to say about the red that Murphy attempted past the black there, trying to sort of make it into a big pocket. Because it's cost him, barring snookers.
Yeah, it's a sort of shot you wouldn't even take on if you were 3-2 up yourself and in the position in this sort of 6th frame that Stuart finds himself in, well in command of it. But
12.
Sean's so desperate to get into this frame and get back on level terms. That's when you're likely to push the boat out, I guess.
Two snookers required. I
Stuart
think
Bingham,
Bingham was
12.
trying to push the black into onto the cushion. The danger for Bingham is that he leaves a red on and allows Murphy to pot 3 of the 4, and then we're left with 1 red, and then it might get a bit sticky, possibly.
He could play the red here that's annexed to the pink, because in doing so there's every chance he could push the pink to the left-hand side cushion.
Foul.
Oh dear.
Stuart Bingham,
Well,
4 and
nod of the
different.
head with the in off. So Stuart Bingham for the first time has established a 2-frame lead, and frame 7 is a huge one in this match. Bingham leads Murphy 4-2.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. By the way, that is Sir Duncan, the cameraman there, who Stuart Bingham's having a chat with. Maybe there's a little bit of movement. He's a very experienced man at his job, is Duncan. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about decision making, isn't it? And you know, Shaun Murphy, he's not playing all that well, is he? Let's be honest now. He's not really recovered from losing that earlier frame. This is the shot. I mean, I don't see how you couldn't get a marble in through there. Could never mind a snooker ball. Could you through that gap?
No, it's answered on the postcard, that one, because this definitely didn't go for me. I think he's sort of he's all at sea at the moment. Shaun Murphy. He's not really played for the last couple of frames. Even his safety play has been horrendous, and Stuart Bingham is just picking up the pieces. But
Listen,
Stuart's looking more sharp of the two.
he'll be all at sea again if he doesn't buck up his ideas. Holyhead to Dunleary, 4-2 down to Stuart Bingham.
Stuart Bingham leads Shaun Murphy 4-2. We, of course, will be live right to the end of this one. We'll have the winner in our studio. And at the moment, Bingham certainly favourite. He's playing the better snooker. He's got the 2-frame lead. He needs 2 more for victory.
Shaun may decide to try and pot his way out of trouble, so to speak. That's his game anyway. He may take even more on to try and get back into this match. But when you're 2 frames adrift and under pressure, pots like that become even more difficult to you. But I think he's got away with that one.
Ideally, what Murphy wants, firstly, to win the frame. That's obvious. If he could win it well. His highest break so far only 51. If he could get in 1 visit, then that sends the message to Bingham that suddenly he's really arrived in the match. But that's all ifs and buts. He's got to do it. Try not to leave a chance for Bingham.
Well, if he hasn't covered the red, well, you can see that he has. Very, very fortunate, really, there, Shaun. A little unlucky that red finished over the pocket anyway, but how that cue ball just snuck in behind the green there, I don't know. But Stuart's got a problem here because he appears to be snookered on all reds. He could come off the side cushion, cannon the red that's near the right-hand corner, full ball, and try and advance the cue ball to the top cushion. It'd be safe there, I feel. Well, Stuart can think himself very lucky there. He chose the wrong shot in the end. I don't think he realised he'd left that red on. But once again, Shaun Murphy, it's a fortuitous that the cue ball's finished behind the green.
Again, the hand was sort of half raised in acknowledgement, half apology. Bit of danger here, isn't there, with all these reds fanned out the way they have?
Yeah, Stewart should be able to drop onto the red near the right corner as long as he misses the pink. Oh, this does look good if it can just run. Well played.
Yeah, well judged. Of course, Bingham came up in a very strong area for snooker in Essex. A lot of pro-ams and amateur tournaments to play in when he was learning his trade, and that's where he developed his voracious appetite just for playing snooker. Of course, at the moment, the amateur game in the UK and many other parts of the world has had to come to a halt. Professional game continues, but a lot of people would love to go down the snooker club tomorrow, and of course they're all shut at the moment. And the clubs obviously are the lifeblood of the game.
Stewart took that red on, overcut it as he saw, and Shaun can also snick it in. And if he doesn't cannon the pink, he ought to finish okay on something anyway. Very difficult to control the cue ball properly when the potting angle is so thin as this.
One.
And that will do very nicely for Shaun. He must start to take these opportunities now. There's no reason from Shaun's point of view why he couldn't win the frame from an opportunity like this, and he needs to.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Is this now the start of something? He needs something. He needs a big break. He needs to try and assert himself. They're the highest breaks, just 51. It did win in the frame because he'd already, in frame 3, he'd already got the lead.
Well, unless there's a plant onto the left corner, he's a little out of position already here.
Well, it looks plumb.
Five.
And he's not out of the woods yet because slightly hampered cueing on the pink with the wrong angle on it, it has to be said. He's still fighting to keep this break going. If he plays this pink with too much power, there's every chance he could foul the red that's close to the cue ball. It's easily done. Just wonder if you could power the pink in, take the cue ball in and out of bulk to the left of the yellow and back down again. But just depends on the angle he has on the pink.
12.
Couldn't really do much again with the cue ball there. He had no choice but to leave himself a little low on the pink, but I think if he drops it in, he'll have a red to the left corner.
Yeah, it's been on a bit of a knife edge. This break, he's 4 minutes this break for 18 points.
18.
Just trying to play himself into absolutely ideal position.
19.
Well, now, finally, he's in good position here. He can play a cannon to the two reds above the black to hold for a choice of reds to both corners.
Both matches yesterday went to a decider. This afternoon, the match between David Gilbert and Karen Wilson went to a decider. Gilbert winning through in the end.
27.
This could yet be another close finish. But a lot, I think, rests on this visit from Shaun Murphy in this 7th frame.
Low on the red again because he potted the black too cleanly.
34.
So in potting this red to left corner, I don't think he can avoid cannoning into the red just above the one he's taking. Maybe I'll just screw off the red above this one and hold for the black even. I played the glance,
35.
but unfortunately the red he cannoned into has blocked the pocket for the pink. So now he's faced with a straightish long blue.
It's the sort of ball on the
ball.
practice table he'd get 10 out of 10, but this is a match. He's 4-2 down. He's made the odd error. It's in. Didn't make a meal of it, did he? He didn't sort of
40.
build up to it. He just got down and stroked it in.
Yes, he never does. I've spoken to Shaun about this actually before, and he tells me he just tries to keep exactly the same rhythm no matter what shot he's faced with, be it a pressure pot or otherwise.
41.
Well, he's getting there.
48.
Getting closer to pulling a frame back. And as I said at the start of this frame, if he can win it with one big break, then
49.
just shows Bingham that he's starting to find his range in this match.
Well, that's Shaun Murphy's highest break to date in this
55.
match. Eclipses the 51 break that he made in frame number 3. Can he go on and make a century? Certainly kept us on 10 to hooks during the course of this break.
$56.
Every chance. First things first, just close out the frame. Pink to lead by 62, so 75 on. Couple of balls away from securing the frame. Sometimes I think you listen to Shaun Murphy after a match and you might not know from the way he talks actually whether he won or lost, but make no mistake,
62.
he's a great competitor. He always manages to find the right words, win or lose, but he's as fierce a competitor as I think as anybody.
63.
Like Stuart Bingham, he's been playing snooker his whole life. And he'd be very happy with this visit. This black, it should be 4-3.
$70.
He actually turned pro when he was 15. because he was coming up on his 16th birthday when the season began. Now, he's not on that red to the right corner. It's only one snooker here. Yeah, so
Sean Murphy,
not
7.
necessarily over yet. He leads by 70, 67 on, and he's already given Bingham a starter.
He didn't play that red particularly confidently. He sort of babied it down the cushion. Didn't strike through the cue ball. Well, every chance here that Stuart could pot 4 of these remaining 5 reds with blacks and pinks. And you think from one of the reds just below the pink there, he could leave a very telling snooker for Shaun Murphy to try to escape from.
But that's what you were saying, Dom, the way he played the red down the cushion. You know, it's always really going to be left if you missed it. Gives Bingham a chance to start clearing them away. So just one snooker. This is a very interesting moment here. His frame's not done yet.
Well, I think I expect Stuart to knock in
8.
the 3 reds that he wishes to knock in with high value colours, and I do expect
9.
Shaun Murphy to be in a snooker the next time he comes back to the table. I think the red that Stuart would like to leave till last is the red that's just below the pink. If he could play for the 2 reds into this left corner and pot those with pinks and blacks, he'd give himself every chance to still win this frame.
$16.
Clearly short of pace, but can he still pot the red to the left corner?
Something about that shot, because in the first match today, Dave Gilbert suffered a vicious miscue. Very strange it was on a very similar shot. Well, that should be that. It was an
Stuart
opportunity
Bingham,
to put a bit of
16.
pressure on if he could have laid the snooker, but he's looking just completely bemused by all of that, and he's left this dolly red for Murphy. He'll be very happy to see it close to that pocket. Shaun Murphy's made his highest break
1.
in this match of 70, and there's going to be 1 frame in it after this visit.
I feel there Stuart should have exercised his right to concede the frame, because Shaun would love to come back to the table as he's doing and pot these remaining 3 reds with colours and make a clearance just to give him further
8.
momentum.
$9.
Yes, it's a bit of a lap of honour in the frame, isn't it, really? Just a chance to get any tension that was in the arm out of it.
$16.
Just to clarify what I was
17.
saying there, World Snooker have introduced a new rule into the game whereby you can concede a frame whilst your opponent's about to come to the table or is even in the course of making a break. As long as, I believe, if a sentry
24.
break is on, you can't do that, but any other time you can.
26. 29.
But you can see, can't you, the care and attention that Shaun is giving to these remaining colours. He's trying to play himself into good form.
33.
Yeah, he's still not necessarily
38.
playing his A game, but he's right back in the match, and there's still time for him to improve. This was an important frame.
44.
He made that 70 break, and he'll have enjoyed knocking these in as well. Another half
51
century,
from the
51.
frame.
So there's only one in it again. Bingham had a definite chance there to potentially lay the snooker, but it's Shaun Murphy who wins the frame. He trails 4-3. He's just boiling up nicely now, isn't it? He's played his best frame in terms of breaks there, Murphy. And regardless of any personal dynamics, you know, they both want to win anyway. It's the quarterfinals of one of our biggest tournaments. A lot of players now see the Masters as the biggest event outside of the World Championship. Bingham's the defending champion. Murphy's a former winner. It's double your money time if you win, guaranteed 60,000. So regardless of anything in the background, there's a lot on the match anyway.
Well, there could be a lot on this long red to right corner for Shaun Murphy. If he can knock it in, he'll be on the black. And looking at the position of the other reds, it's the only red he's likely to leave if it doesn't go in. Shaun normally very good at these. But a long way out with that.
So I was saying, you know, even though he won that last frame, he's still not quite, you know, the Shaun Murphy that we've seen dominate matches and dominate tournaments at times. I mean, he talks about how he's changed his action from winning the World Championship, but he played so well in that tournament, the long potting in particular. In 2005 as a qualifier was just sensational.
Yes, there was a much bigger distance between the bridge hand and the cue ball back in those days. He was still young and up and coming, really, Shaun, at the time. And I think you mentioned, Dave, he turned pro at the age of 15, which was remarkable. And I do remember playing Shaun, I think in successive years of the Masters qualifier, when he was 15 or 16, something like that, very young. And he was a very dangerous player then.
Yes, when he was a teenager, he played in the old Premier League. They used to have matches before the main matches. So it might be, say, Ronnie O'Sullivan, John Higgins. Before that, he would play a frame against one of them. And great grounding to have, to turn up at 12 or 13 and be playing these great players. Some footage emerged recently, Dominic. I think your first TV appearance when you were very young. Have you managed to erase that yet, or is it still there?
Where did you find that?
You showed me.
Oh, that was a photograph. Yeah, what happened was I won what was called the Riley National Junior Championships back in 1984, and the final played the heats in Cardiff, played the last 16 in Sutton Coldfield, and the final was played live on the Saturday show, which was a children's television show hosted by Tommy Boyd and Ireland St Clair back in the day. I was about 12 years old, I think. And I won the whole thing. Amazing. So I had a bit of TV experience, and I actually met Terry Griffith, Steve Davis, Tony Mio and Dennis Taylor at the time. So it was a wonderful chance and opportunity to meet some of the game's elite of the day.
Shaun Murphy tells the story about how he chased Steve Davis down the street in Sheffield for his autograph, and then of course he actually played him the year he won. He beat him the year he won the world title.
One.
Great pot from Shaun Murphy. He would have known that there was a chance of that cue ball going near that right centre. That should give him some confidence. It really should. It was an excellent red. He'd love to somehow get onto the red next to the black, but I'm not sure he can from here.
Six.
It's a little close to the jaws, but avoided them.
Seven.
And now a chance to get onto the red next to the black. Really free that black spot area up. Hasn't really run far enough. Pots the red next to the black now. He'll cannon into the black, and that's no good. Is he on another red to the right corner?
Thirteen.
Well, made a bit of a hash of that, but the mistake, unfortunately, was a positional shot to the red.
Yellow.
Yellow ball.
So he's nominated yellow because he can see the black fall. So there you see he's missed here. If he played that again the third time,
No miss.
he would have to
Shaun
play the
Murphy,
black
13. Stuart Bingham,
because
4.
you can see it fall. That's if Bingham puts it back, of course.
Well, I agree with what you were implying there, Dave. I'm very surprised that Stuart Bingham didn't put Shaun Murphy back in there. I'd have loved my opponent to have to play off the black. As you say, you've been struggling to reach it and do anything with it, really.
Well, he's left the pot on as well, or a chance at it. So I think Bingham now, it's easy to say, I know in hindsight, but now will regret what he did there.
He's just finished 2 straight on the blue here, Shaun. Doesn't really have an alternative colour to play, but I just wonder if the 2 reds together to the left of the pink, that he can somehow leave himself on the bottom one, or is there a chance of a plant here? The 2 reds just below the pink, can they be made?
6.
If not, he's got a thin cut to the left corner. There's a shot to nothing. It's the best he's got, really.
Shaun Murphy, 6.
Shaun would love to somehow get that cubel in behind the yellow, but he may be tempted to take this red on because he can hold for the black. Not quite. Oh dear, he's left a red on for Stuart Bingham. It's so easy to do, you know, but I think that cue ball just slid a little further off that side cushion than Shaun thought. He was expecting to cannon those reds a little lower down. You'll see it here. Just catches the top of that little group of reds, and look, he's left a red into the left centre.
One. Six.
Well, that's not great for Stuart. He's very straight on this red. He may have to play for the yellow now, but he needs to get into that little group of reds. I don't think there's anything he can play on.
Seven.
Oh, did very well there with the cue ball.
It's got, I think, very tense now. The match has tightened up. Bingham at 4-2 was certainly the better player. Murphy's just pegged him back. Plenty of snooker, I think, left to be played in this one. Possible 4 frames remain, including this one.
Yeah, the fluency seems to have gone out of this match now. Both players beginning to struggle a little.
This is a cue case there with his extension in there.
Ten.
Well, I can't see anything that will pot. I'm not entirely sure if Stuart tried to leave that cue ball near the pink there for a choice of reds. The red that's nearest the pink, I suppose he could do something with it, but it's a very thin cut into the right centre.
Well, I think
Stuart Bingham, 10.
that last couple of minutes just reflects the way this match has gone. As I say, the edginess has come in. He's put himself under pressure being left with that, and he's missed it. Maybe not his favourite pocket. After that red, he missed into it in frame 3.
1.
Well, these reds now looking a little more inviting. The red that's nearest the pink spot now pots into the left corner. That opens up all sorts of possibilities then, because
Brown ball.
if you could then play for the pink, get that back onto its spot, it makes the two reds together, just to the left of that little cluster, more accessible.
Five. Six.
Well, Sean's left himself a bit of a testing pink here to the yellow pocket. I think he tried to stun off those reds and leave the pink to left centre, but he could have played a direct screw shot, avoided those reds altogether and been beautifully on the pink. But if he can knock this in, he's done all the hard work, he's developed the reds. Now what's he done? Don't think he's on anything, Dave.
No, well, you could see from his reaction
12.
immediately. And Sean, you know, he's not the most sort of demonstrative, but he was here. Good pink, just overrun. It's turned into one of those frames, isn't it?
Sean Murphy, 12.
So there's been chances on both sides. Bingham lost ideal position, missed the red to right middle, and Murphy lost position altogether, which is why he's played safe. He leads by 17.
Sean will be very pleased to see that there are now a couple of reds in awkward positions. Well, this was an excellent pot from Stewart from tight underneath that side cushion. Cueing was difficult. But he's missed the green.
Stuart Bingham,
That was
1.
the one ball. If he'd have knocked it in, it would have been a passport back into this frame for him.
Definite bit of tension, I think, in the arm. As you say, big shot. Chance to get going again in this match.
1.
Well, the frame's sort of become like this, hasn't it? You know, things just not coming easy.
7.
Just needs to get on one of the reds to continue.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sean's considering trying to make a plant out of these 2 reds. It's the sort of thing you do when you're a little disappointed with the fact that you've dropped out of position when you don't feel you should have done. You can see it needs making quite significantly, but the cue ball's in a perfect spot there. If he cannons the first red almost full ball, it could very well make the red below into a plant for this corner. Thing is, he doesn't really want to play a safety shot off the safe reds.
Sean Murphy, 7.
Interesting frame this, Dave.
Well, the first ever winner of the Masters, John Spencer, who was a 3 times world champion as well, he said about snooker that it's one of those television sports that when the standard drops, if anything, it becomes more watchable. Because it's just the unexpected. And this frame is just completely in the balance, isn't it? The whole match is, in fact.
One.
Well, now the work really
7.
begins for Stuart. This is the last of the easy reds. Needs an angle on a colour to try and develop something. Could drop in behind the red that's next to the green. But even if he did so, the pot wouldn't be straightforward.
Eight.
Well, does this red along the top cushion go?
14.
We've seen evidence that down this top cushion, the pocket's not particularly tight.
When you think of all the great moments we can reel off, not just from the Masters, but other tournaments. But in a way, snooker kind of also made its name with these sort of battles late at night when matches go tight, frames go tight, things start to happen.
14.
It's what keeps people tuned in. This frame still is going to take some resolving. There's 9 points in it. I think a lot of people would say that having a big crowd there adds pressure, but I think also the eerie silence, the opposite, must bring its own pressure. The fact that it is quiet. It's a different environment to what they're used to, but this is a big hall, this Marshall Arena. They're out there on their own. Oh, it's just dropped. Wow. It took its time, didn't it? It took its time.
Yeah, how significant could this be? Because Stewart's left himself a lovely angle on the black to develop the two remaining reds. It just fell in, didn't it? Just hovered on the lip of the pocket there and decided to drop. Stewart may try and cannon the nearest red and try and knock the other one towards the corner. Oh, he's double kissed it, and he's not on anything. Wow, that's amazing. A little unlucky.
So 1 point in it. Absolute scrap, this frame. Can I get this white in behind the yellow?
Stuart Bingham, 8.
Well, it's pretty good.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, Shaun Murphy snookered on both reds. Needs to be careful what shots he plays here. He needs to make sure that he doesn't develop both reds here for Stuart Bingham. So the red I think Shaun will try to contact will be the one nearest the black. Shaun can get a lot of action on the cue ball. I just don't know whether he'll fancy swerving around the brown to come off the top cushion and into the red that's next to the black. The problem he has is, if he does play it with pace, and the red were to just be cannoned straight into the black directly, could very well leave it on. Well, I don't think Shaun will be too pleased with this. Stuart may fancy this red.
One.
Yeah, I mean, we knew immediately, didn't we, that he struck it. That was
8.
going in from the camera angle.
Still lots of work to do for Stuart. He'll need red, black. Well, if he does play for the black off this remaining red, he'd probably like to be able to play up for pink or blue, but whether he can, I don't know. But he will need the yellow, green and brown in addition, so lots of work ahead of Stuart here to win the frame from here.
Yeah, he's just working all that out. This is the longest frame now of the match, just over 29 minutes, superseding frame 4.
9.
Stuart, I think, is a little straighter on this black than ideal. Doesn't want to cannon the brown. Oh, that's end of break. Well, well, well.
16.
It just sort of sums up the frame, doesn't it, that last shot? You just sort of almost expect it's not just going to be straightforward. So we come to the colours with 15 points in it. Just needs to avoid, well, Well, it's a different shot we're seeing, actually, but as I say, just need to avoid that brown playing down for the yellow.
He could play the cubal in behind the black here off 4 cushions around the angles. He just has to be a little bit careful not to leave a pot on the yellow, should he not get the snooker. But there are other shots he could play.
Yeah, so that clock ticking on. As I say, longest frame so far. Huge frame as well, as we're so late on in the match, 5-3 or 4-4. The next few moments will decide it.
Stuart Bingham, 16.
Without the ricochet from the middle pocket jaw, I think that would have been a snooker that Stuart would have got on Shaun Murphy there.
Well, he's a little bit close for comfort there. Obviously, if that goes in, the yellow's waiting, but he's okay.
Quite a tricky shot there here that Stuart's faced with. There aren't any easy safety shots to play from where he is. Played that really well.
Yeah, big shot for Murphy, who's trailing by 15. First things first, has to hit the yellow. If he leaves it on, could well be 5-3, so big moment.
Thank you, Stuart.
I think Stuart can see the yellow, but I don't think he can pot it. The problem is, if you can only see the yellow to the left, the cube will probably go in off, so that's no good to him. Has to hit this very thinly. Managed it.
They had one of these frames, didn't they, late on in that World Final? In fact, I think at one point Stuart had to go to the toilet, had to go out the arena because it was going on so long. In the end, Shaun Murphy missed a yellow, which proved decisive in the whole match.
Well, without the kiss on the pink, this wouldn't have been a snooker. Once again, Shaun Murphy in trouble here. Needs to play this with a bit of pace. Just give the shot a chance. Needs to try and create distance between the two balls if he can. Too dangerous to drop onto the yellow. It's too close to the pocket.
Foul. The miss.
Well,
Stuart Bingham.
don't think it's a
4.
free ball. Tatiana Wollaston checking it's not, so it's going back. And that's a danger. If he were to left one, that could have been trouble. Stuart Bingham ball run. They call him. Got that nickname at quite a young age. The players reckon he was lucky.
Yeah, Stuart. Thank you.
The shot that Shaun previously played is still on, but he needs to play with a trace more pace and a bit of a dead white because it seemed to arc off the side cushion. He needs to stop that happening. He needs to play this with a bit of a dead white. So he's arcing away. He needs to play this with centre ball on the cue ball and a little bit more
Miss.
pace. And it should just straighten up a little off the
Stuart
side
Bingham,
cushion
4.
and go towards the yellow more.
Well, if he misses again, he can only tie. So things getting serious now.
Stuart, thank you.
Third attempt.
Well, at least Stuart Bingham requires the green, so one good positional shot still needed from him.
Yeah, if he pots the yellow, then Murphy can still tie the frame. Hang on, where's the white going? Where's it going? Oh,
Foul.
can you believe that?
Shaun
Wow.
Murphy 4.
What next in this frame?
Well, you could see Stuart Bingham mouth the word himself there. Wow, look at the arc of the cue ball from the bulk cushion. Takes it straight into the pocket. That's incredible. Now, how much could of a turning point could that prove to be here?
Well, you saw Murphy before in his seat, looking thoroughly fed up that he'd left the thin snick on the yellow. Now he's back at the table. Well, if he clears up here, then this is just a massive moment in this match.
The problem is he'd have to play this yellow with a little bit of pace to get nicely on the green. Well, the yellow's there.
2.
Well, who knows? It's been such an eventful frame, a lot of tension clearly in the air. You wouldn't be surprised if he potted it, you wouldn't be surprised if he missed it. Ah, that's excellent. Just got into it too much.
5.
Just got into it too much.
Adrenaline. Amazing.
You just sort of almost fancied it, didn't you, in a way, something to happen. That it's one of those frames, it's late at night, it's the Masters, 2 former winners, 2 world champions going at each other here. Beautiful striking, but not on the brown.
He's got to keep the brown safe. That's the most important thing. If you keep the brown safe, the shot's safe.
Shaun Shaun Murphy, 5.
He couldn't possibly have attempted to cannon into the pink there. He's knocked it into a safe place.
So, comfortably now the longest frame, just over 40 minutes. Could write a book on it, couldn't you, what's happened? And it still remains so important in the overall match. Can Bingham get within one of victory? Can Murphy make it all square and make the match a best of 3?
Yeah. I wonder if Stewart could just trundle that brown past the pink here and try and snooker Shaun Murphy. Yeah, the shot was on and he's played it beautifully.
Yes, well trundled by Bingham. Murphy, in some ways, must wonder, A, how the frame isn't over already and he's not 5-3 down, and then B, when he's crunched in the green, you think, well, great chance to clear, but didn't get on the brown, of course.
Now here's a good shot for you. Bit of a trick shot, I know, but Shaun could play this off the side cushion in behind the pink with backspin. This is the mistake that he made. He didn't want to cannon the pink because it's on and he needs it.
Shaun Murphy.
But yeah, if Shaun plays this inside the pink with backspin, he may be able to screw the cue ball in behind the pink and send the brown up towards bulk. But he's got to cannon the brown almost full ball to do it. Didn't cannon it full ball, but my goodness, he's lucky here.
Bingham 14 ahead, remember, if he potted the brown, 18 ahead, 18 on. Could be a respot yet. Murphy hoping to get a chance to clear up. Anything's possible, isn't it, after what we've seen the last 45 minutes? And this is why we love snooker. We love the big breaks, of course, but these sort of frames, you can't beat them.
I'd love Jimmy White to be having a go at that shot that I was suggesting that Shaun played there in our studio. The sort of shot Jimmy used to play. He's got so much flair. I think he'd love to have a go at it. The problem is the shot that Shaun Murphy played a little while ago where he knocked the pink into a safe position. It's taken a lot of pressure off Stuart Bingham. Because had that pink still been over that left centre pocket, this would really be just a brown ball frame. Now here's a shot that Shaun, I'm sure, will enjoy playing. Take the cue ball round off 4 cushions in behind the black. The brown ought to finish near the left-hand side cushion. Shaun loves these sort of shots, but he's caught it too thickly.
Well, as I say, Bingham, if he pots the brown, Murphy can tie. So he does still need the blue as well. In it goes. That's a good pot.
4.
And he's on the blue. 45 minutes this frame. Nerves are shredded. That's just us watching. Bingham rolls in
9.
the blue. Big frame. Clearly to win. To keep Shaun Murphy at arm's length. And to move to within 1 of a place in the semi-finals.
Stuart Bingham, 9.
2 snookers needed with pink and black left.
Yeah, Shaun needs to have a go at this. It's possible. The black's in a good position.
Match time 3 hours. You do see frames 1 in this position. Not that often, it's got to be said. Needing 2 on the pink. Average frame time 19 minutes. Well, came very close, but has left a chance at the pink. 46.5 minutes now, this frame. The clock can stop.
Frame. Stuart Bingham.
Stuart Bingham very relieved, I'm sure, to finally get that frame on the board, and it means that Bingham needs 1 now for victory. He leads Shaun Murphy to carry his defence of the Masters title into the semi-finals. It's 5-3.
I really do feel Shaun will be taking this red on into the left corner. It's a sort of pot that he likes and is very good at. Going in for Shaun tonight. That's a big miss.
Well, just look where the red hit the cushion. He was nowhere near the pot.
Well, Stuart felt that red was on.
Well, again, trying to get in, trying to make something happen, but red's come back and knocked reds out of the pack. So Stuart Bingham now with a good chance early on in this frame. The frame he needs, remember, to win the match.
1.
Yes, it's out of Shaun Murphy's hands now. He needs a mistake from Stewart.
Eight.
Just feel that Shaun Murphy's lost a couple of frames tonight that he looked big favourite to win. And had he won those frames, this match could easily have been going in the distance. Who knows, it still may do so.
9.
Often feels though like the frame that he just won. It's like winning 2 frames in a way, isn't it? It's just such an advantage to be the player that wins that frame, and particularly in Bingham's perspective, to now be 2 up with 3 left to play. Well, that could have gone better.
Yeah, I think though he has a red to the green
16.
pocket, and you're always a bit disappointed if you miss them. They're a little bit easier than they may look, these. That's if it goes. I'm sure Stewart can take it on. He can play for the black in this left corner. He's missed it. I'm a little surprised. I think he would have fancied it.
Stuart Bingham. 16.
Shaun shaping up to take this red along the top cushion. This has to go in.
Yeah, he's not being left anything easy, Murphy, is he? He's going for his shots. It was another big one, as Dominic said, and he's left it.
One. Eight. Nine.
Very straight on the blue, but that red that's above the cue ball there will probably be Stewart's next intended red. Held the blue spot. That's interesting. That must now have to go on the brown.
14. $15.
Choices here for Stewart. He could stun down for the blue to go into the reds
20.
from the blue, or he could play for the yellow and go in some from the side. And that could work out well. If he could get nicely on the yellow and go into that pack from the side of them, they'd probably split really nicely.
$21.
didn't catch the meat of the pack there, did he? Just glanced off the
23.
end reds, and that's end a break and a lifeline still for Shaun Murphy.
Stuart Bingham,
So it's all been
23.
bits and pieces in this frame from Bingham. 39 the lead. If he gets a better contact into the bunch of reds there, then could well have been over, but he didn't. Just to mark your card for tomorrow, the afternoon match is Stephen Maguire against Yan Bingtao. We're on air at 1:45. The whole match is live on Eurosport. You don't have to go anywhere. It's all live. And then, of course, the same applies in the evening, 7:15. El Clasico, Ronnie O'Sullivan and John Higgins. Can't wait for that one. Played in 3 Masters finals alone, those two.
Just looking at those 2 reds near the right-hand side cushion, they look very close to being a plant, but the problem is I don't think Shaun's in a position in this match to risk it. Stewart really won't want to play a safety here off that little group of 5 reds next to the pink. It's so easy to knock one on and develop something. The only problem with these little containing safety shots that Stewart's just played there, do give your opponents an opportunity to do something a little better with their safety. And Shaun sizing up this red to the left centre. Not much of the pocket opening there, but could have left it on for Stewart.
There's so many of these pots that are tough that Shaun Murphy can certainly knock in, but he's just not knocking them in. Not getting in, that's the problem. He needs to get in this frame, and so far has not managed it.
Well, this time Shaun will have to play a safety off, I believe, off the 5 reds and the pink. Can he try and get that cubel in behind brown and yellow here? Wow, does that red cut in? That's to the right of the blue. It's very, very thin.
One.
was an excellent shot from
5.
the brown. Let's get down here for these two reds. Had to strike downwards on the cue ball. Easily missed. But just looking at the scores, he's certainly going to need at least one of that little group of reds that are together there near the right-hand side cushion.
Six.
Yeah, it almost feels like reds are being put back on the table, doesn't it? There seems to be a lot on the table. But he's got a good lead, and he's getting closer and closer.
Twelve.
If Stuart could leave himself dead straight on the black to play a direct screw into those balls, he'd be a heavy favourite to be on one of them.
Thirteen.
Played a stun run through there to leave the half ball angle on the black and killed the pace of the white too much. So the angle's still there to take the cue ball into the 6 reds, but he's going to need the long tackle out here, I think, and he'll be cueing over the pink, so hampered cueing.
What a moment in the match to be playing this shot.
Yeah. How brave does he want to be?
Well, just slightly overran to be nicely on the red to the middle.
He could still take it on. It's a very thin cut, but the cube will be running away from the other 5 reds, and the only ball he could leave is the red, should he take it on.
Yes, he was looking to land on it because red and the black he would lead 67 with 67 on.
Stuart Bingham 20.
Clever, tried the double, knowing he'd hide the red behind that group of others.
Yes, Murphy needing the reds out in the open.
Wow, that was amazing, Dave. I mean, it was so obvious that Shaun was planting a red over to that left-hand centre pocket there. Has he hidden it?
Looks like it. He's playing a little swerve, is he? And in it goes. Well, it looks over now. He needs another red, so Murphy needs this next shot to go wrong. He needs him to miss this, otherwise it's Bingham surely in the semis. I think Shaun Murphy would accept that he just hasn't played near to the top of his game tonight. It's got
4.
very sticky this match as it's gone on, nervy, but Stuart Bingham, I think, was good value for his 4-2 lead.
5.
And the pressure will be coming off now as he just takes this black, and then surely it's too far back for Murphy.
Yeah, Shaun Murphy just had that one good frame, really, where he made breaks of 70 and 51 to go from 4-2 behind to 4-3. But other than that, he's made breaks of 30, 33 and 51, and that's why he hasn't really been particularly competitive in this match.
Stuart Bingham, 12.
Has to play on, but a long way back from here. 71 behind, 59 on.
Stuart can take on the red that's next to the brown. I beg your pardon, Shaun. Be able to play down for the black from it.
Doesn't want to knock this black onto the cushion, and he's not done that. Coming into last year's Masters, Bingham had a poor record in the tournament. One semi-final. That was the only time he'd been past the last 16, but barring snookers here and a big turnaround, he's going to be into the semi-finals again with a chance to continue the defence of his title into the final on Sunday.
There's very little Stuart can do with this, really. I can't see any safety shot that he can play. Very awkward, this. Shaun just happened to have left him in a bit of a tricky spot here. Found a good shot in the end, though. Attempted a bit of a billiard shot there, glancing across the face of the red, side spin, bring the cue ball in behind the black spot, but caught it too thickly.
And in goes the red.
1.
And that is surely it now. Shaun Murphy may look back on the previous frame when Bingham went in off and Murphy potted that good green but lost position for the brown. It was a chance to clear and land a bit of a hammer blow.
Stuart
But
Bingham, 1
it's
frame and a match.
concession time, and Stuart Bingham, the defending champion, is into the semi-finals of the Masters. An eventful match. I'm sure he's very relieved to get it out of the way. He's happy. He kisses that tattoo, and he's in the last 4. He's beaten Shaun Murphy 6-3.
triumphant and defiant Stuart Bingham. Just for anyone that doesn't know, I'm pretty sure he's got his kids' Neil tattooed up and down his arms. I think he showed me them a year or two ago.
I don't know.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's got
Not
his
a
kids.
picture of Murphy.
Yeah, that's for sure.